Good, Jack?
Happy Monday. How y'all doing?
Good. Good. All right, feel free to get started with Coach Inge, please.
Coach, as you kind of look back at the first half, second half, just almost a complete 180, right? And just the box score, the stats, performance. What happened in the second half to get your defense turned around?
Probably the biggest thing that you saw was our guys made their plays at the point of attack. Our urgency level was a lot higher and a little more intense, and their focus was exactly where it needed to be when it came to them being able to make their play at the point of attack. And that was probably one of the biggest things that we talked about at halftime coming out was just we're where we need to be. Now we just have to make our play.
You guys have been really emphasizing that all season in terms of making plays at the point of attack coming out of last year. And you've finished very strong, but it's been hard to put a full game together in terms of tackling and doing those fundamental things. Why do you think that's been a struggle consistently throughout this season?
I wouldn't necessarily say sometimes that it's a struggle. It's just when you're playing against great teams, every now and again, they're going to have a play, and every now and again, we're going to have a play. The biggest thing that we think that we did is when you needed to make the play the most, you made that play at that point in time when everything was on the line. And those are the ebbs and flows that happen when you're in quality competition.
Kalen said after the game.
Tuatele said after, on Twitter, he made a post, Eddie gave a halftime speech and it was over after that. Were you there?
No, I was not. And that's one of the things that's what leadership is all about. When you have someone who's going to speak up, everyone's going to make the necessary internal adjustments from the leadership. That's exactly why we have him on our football team, and we love having him on our team.
After the game, Kalen said, I think the difference between the halves on defense was the tackling, that you guys started to tackle better in the second half. As you guys have addressed that all season, what do you think is the shortcoming of it? Is it guys trying to make too big a hit instead of wrapping up? Or
It's a little bit of both. Sometimes you're trying to make too big of a hit. Sometimes you may leave your feet a little too soon, and that's been kind of one of our bigger issues that we've been addressing on our end, because sometimes you leave your feet a little too soon instead of running through the ball carrier. And then there have just been a handful of times where you just are not fortunate enough to be able to make your play in that given moment. So it's kind of a little bit of here and there, and that's our players just have to continue to keep getting better.
What did you say to Tuatele walking off the field after he dropped the ball at the 1 yard line?
I told him that I love him, and I appreciate the fact that he made a play, but also know that on my end, as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, as a leader, I have to be different than the 15 million people in the outside world and tell him the coaching aspect of it all. Hey, we have to give the ball to the official, because as you know, he didn't realize exactly what occurred, because he would have never done that on purpose. And he owned it and said, Coach, I'm going to make up for it. And that's exactly the kind of football team that we have from a brotherhood standpoint as well. And the other guys said the same thing. Hey, we have your back. We got you. And obviously, I think you all see what happened one play later.
I'm sure you probably saw him yesterday. You share a room with him. Obviously, that's something that's got to be hard to bounce back from a little bit. But how have you seen him come back from an attitude standpoint?
Oh, attitude was great. Probably the best thing is when you're mature enough and you have your spirits and your spirituality in the right place. He owned it. He accepted it. Obviously, he does feel bad because he knows that it could have hurt the football team, but we're able to really coach and teach from this while being victorious, which is probably one of the better things. But he knows that he has to move on. We want his leadership. He played his best game for us, and we're going to need that again coming into this week.
Coming into this week, like you said, Oregon State, you played a physical team last week. Oregon State, very physical as well, has a couple great running backs and, plays that brand of football. What's the biggest emphasis when you go against an offense like that?
The same scenario, again, you have to control the line of scrimmage and make your plays on their big physical running backs and being able to stay on your feet. They have a very good offensive line. They do a great job of pushing people around and making holes for their physical running backs who get downhill and can continue to just chew up the clock. And that's why a lot of the games have been close and or low scoring. They really have a good recipe for understanding how to win football games.
This was Tule's most action in a while. Obviously, he made a big play on the safety. How did he come through physically, and are you guys feeling like you'll be able to rely on him maybe for even
Yes,
more
yeah,
snaps?
yeah. He's getting stronger and stronger every week. And we knew on Tuesday in stretch with his beautiful smile, he said, "This is a game for me." So when he knew that, or we knew what he said at that point in time, we knew that he was going to be a force to be reckoned with. And that's one of his strengths. When they try to physically overpower guys at the point of attack, that's one of his strengths when it comes to helping our football team.
Coach, there's a situation, late third, Utah's got the ball at their 49, you're up 5, buck 47, 3rd and 6, and you got Sakai and Holtzclaw on the field together with no Braylon and no Zion. Can you talk about kind of how that particular moment, big third down, choosing to keep Zion and Braylon on the sideline, kind of what goes into that kind of conversation?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is when you trust a young man for doing the jobs that they're required to be able to do. And we have a high level of trust for all the guys that go on the football field. And seeing them on the field at that moment, you know they're going to have a chance to be able to make a play and be able to keep the quarterback corralled or have a chance to be able to make the play on the quarterback if it is a pass game. So that's just kind of how things played out at that point in time from a rotation standpoint. And as you saw, it didn't happen a ton, but when it needed to happen, those individuals were on point when it came to them being able to carry out their job to help our football team.
Coach, we saw a lot of Jacob Lane at 3-tech, especially early on in the ball game. What is it that he provides to you just, from the interior there? I know he's a big athletic guy, but as a true freshman, what has he shown you to be able to trust him in that spot?
Yeah, Fast Lane is pretty good for us as a youngin. When it comes to him being able to, number one, do his job, number two, being able to play with a high motor. So when you have someone who comes into the game with a high level of energy, a high level of passion, and he does play fast, and he knows exactly what to do, that just gives everyone a lot of added value. And when you're a developmental program who is developing, that gives you the ability to say, this is what we're doing to our young players. They are developing literally while taking bullets in the battlefield. So having him in the game at those moments, it's great for our football program.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the safety position? It looks like Ace is going to be out a while. It looks like Cam Fab got dinged up again. Vince Nunley is back. Can you talk a little bit about your depth right there?
Yeah, and that's kind of obviously how it has been when you had Vince being able to come play and be able to make some plays. You also have McKellis Steen being able to make some plays, and obviously Dom Hampton has been the staple. That's kind of the three-man rotation at this point in time that we've been able to deal with from the safety position, and those guys have been able to do a good job of being able to make some plays.
Going back to Oregon State, seems like some of their slot guys, maybe some of the smaller stature guys have blistering speed. What have you seen out of just how quickly they can kind of break some big plays?
Yeah, exactly that. They're quicker than a hiccup. But those are the things that you're going to get when it comes to being able to play championship caliber teams. They're going to have their strengths at the receiver positions. Those young men they're undersized, but they are extremely fast, extremely quick, elusive. They do a great job in the scheme of what they do because they're always having a chance to run vertically or run away from a player going across the field, or if you're off so far, they'll just drop out and continue to keep the chains moving. So they're able to add to the strength of their team, and we have a high level of respect for them and what they do at the receiver position for sure.
They've got a really solid offensive line. What do you think it's going to take to get after the quarterback and just kind of move him off the spot?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing, as you know, get them into scenarios where you know that they're going to have to throw the football. And then when you do that, let our guys do what we do. And that's what we take a lot of pride in when it comes to having a chance to be able to rush the passer, being able to offset him or get him off the spot because he is a bigger passer, obviously, depending on which one they have in. That's just the things you have to be able to do. And where they've done very well is they've been able to keep teams off of that particular path by being able to run the ball and get into a lot of third down and shorts, third down and medium and to manageable scenarios. So that's where the chess match really has to come into play.
Coach, that play that I was asking you about, there was a late hit on Bryson. Just going back and looking at it, it doesn't look like really anything. Did you kind of get a look at that later on?
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing that we all know in this great sport that we're in, there is one position that will always have immediate protection, and it's going to be the quarterback position. So we respect what the officials did at that moment. We just have to continue to coach our guys of understanding what to do in those scenarios. You know, and the one thing we do is for us, having a 1-0 mindset. It happened, it occurred, we moved on, and now we have to get ready to play the next play. You know, yes, it could have been wishy-washy, but it's what it is. It's a play that's called, and we can't do anything about it.
You know, back to Jacob Lane, you had him out there in the first defensive series and the second defensive series, and I know it's probably reward, but is there also a point of trying to show the other freshmen that, you know, we're going to play you guys, you know, just to play you, I mean, give you a taste, you know, with everything on the line? Does that factor into it too?
Yeah, somewhat, but the biggest thing that the guys know is if you're ready to play and you can play and you can execute the jobs of your position and execute the jobs of that particular call, you're going to have a chance to be able to play. And it doesn't matter, in a sense, what year you are, if you're a non-scholarship player or a scholarship player. The individuals who can execute are going to be the individuals who will have a chance to really put on the field. And that's what the rest of the team sees when you have a chance to play someone like that who is a young freshman and he can do his job exactly the way it does. We can do the same thing, let's say, in our room at linebacker because we play a lot of linebackers. Those guys know if you can execute and do your job and make your plays at the point of attack, you'll have a chance to be able to make plays and you're going to play.
And with the allowances of 4 games, wouldn't you typically like to get every freshman on the field at least once? Mm-hmm. And I think you've played about half of them offensively and defensively.
And that's something that's obviously in the plans for sure. You want to be able to try to get them on. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not. Sometimes it may happen on offense, or sometimes it may happen on defense. Sometimes it may just happen on special teams. But that's the one great thing about the rule, is being able to allow us to be able to get those guys into some 4-game scenarios for them.
And with someone like Anthony James, who hasn't played yet, he's kind of in between trying to build his body or decide his position. Is that probably the situation with him?
Yep. As a developmental player, that's exactly where he is right now. What we say, he's kind of in Navy SEAL training right now.
All right. Anything else for Coach Inge?
Go Dogs.
Fire away.
Rome had 3 catches on 11 targets on Saturday. You ever,
Keep punching.
that's it?
Keep punching, man. Gotta keep punching. That's hard though. It is. It's you know, I checked on Rome and Mike at halftime with that. Just you get that much man coverage and the ball's getting down the field a little bit. It can get frustrating. And so just keeping the right mentality that, you know, you're gonna make the play or get the call, just to keep going after them. And I know Rome was frustrated by a couple, you know, non-calls and things like that, but I thought he did a good job of just staying focused on the next play and, you know, keeping Mike engaged. Where it was a tough, windy day. You know, I thought Mike did a good job locating the ball on some of those more difficult throws.
Yeah. Would you like to see Mike maybe just take some of those underneath routes a little more than?
Yeah, there was a couple that he certainly could have. You know, there was definitely, we had some underneath crossers that were there that were available a few times. But he saw, you know, he was trying to stay in his progression and saw some early side pocket shots that he thought he could get to that weren't necessarily like a mile down the field, and just didn't connect on some of them. There was one early on that, you know, Dev had a bender, you know, into the end zone that we just kind of sailed over him. That really wasn't a deep throw. So, but yeah, of course, you know, and I think Mike, you know, found his rhythm about in the second quarter there and kind of never looked back.
The ineligible man downfield penalty, I've had some people sending screenshots of whether Quinnen was covered up or not. What's your general
No
take?
comment. Wow. It was unfortunate, and I'll say that, because we had the play we wanted, we had the coverage we wanted, and we just needed the refs to execute, and missed out. But it was a bummer, man, because we had points on the board. I really felt like our kicking game was doing pretty well, and I think we'd had the ball roughly on the 27-yard line, so guys did a good job getting down there into scoring position. So those are hard to deal with, but the guys did a good job at halftime getting over it quickly and, moving on and just not worrying about it. Because I think sometimes those can hang into the second half and, you feel like maybe you didn't get this call or that call. And the guys, they weren't like that at all at halftime, so hats off to them.
Coach, earlier in the year on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2, you seem more apt to throw the ball. Now you seem more comfortable running the ball in those downs. What's the difference?
Confidence. I have a lot more confidence in the run game now. And I think our guys are playing tougher. They're playing more physical. I think there's a demeanor that Dylan brings to the game as well. I think that's really evident. There was a 3rd and 2, and I showed that clip to the guys where they had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, and we knew exactly what it was going to be. They knew what it was going to be and had a dimple, and really you're just looking to get Dylan a half a man. And the play I'm thinking of, Parker Brailsford had half of the Mike linebacker, and Dylan took the other half of him and easily got the first down. Just went right through the A-gap and hit it. So that's one of the things you love to see is that the guys start to get stronger as the season goes on. I feel like our O-line gelled about the same time last year, where we started to run the football a little bit better at the end of the season last year, and I feel like we're starting to hit stride on that now.
And speaking of extending on the running game with Parker in there as opposed to Mateo earlier in the year, it looks like Parker is just able to pull so much faster and get out there. Is he enabling you to do more things in the running game on the sides than maybe Mateo was up the middle?
I don't think that necessarily. Teo is really athletic. I think obviously Parker is really good on the perimeter runs and things like that, and his body control for sure. But I don't feel like there was anything we couldn't do. When Teo was in there versus Parker, I think it's an overall gel of the O-line right now.
Speaking of that, it's hard to evaluate from the outside how an O-lineman performs sometimes because the stats aren't there
Right.
for a receiver. But the season that Troy has had, he had some pretty flashy moments in that game against Utah in terms of physically outmanning his opponent. How do you feel like he's played and how consistent has he been from game to game?
He's been very consistent, and I think the best part about his consistency is the improvement. I really believe Troy still feels like he can get better every week, and I think he's really, him and Nate, especially those two, have bought into, that there's an improvement mindset that has to be out there, and no matter who the opponent is, that they can bring a certain demeanor and attitude, to the game. And I certainly think those two have been up to it, and Troy is just, he's a really coachable kid. When the NFL scouts ask me about him, I'm like, I think he's just scratching the tip of the iceberg right now. I think he's continuing to improve every week.
Troy and Roger, both, NFL type guys, it looks
Yeah.
like. How, as a former O-line coach, how would you evaluate how their games are similar or different?
I think they're different in the sense of, Troy brings a little more of a guard type body to the tackle position, just in, his leverage and, his physicality and things like that. But they both are, Roger's a great athlete, so you can see him cover space and distance quickly. And so they're both, I think, elite athletes at the tackle position.
Ryan, what were you trying to get done with Jalen Saturday when he came out in the team and got in the game for a couple snaps? What was kind of
Just let him get out there and get some confidence. Feel like out there getting some guys' hands on him in run blocking, and then getting through some man coverage plays. Just letting him feel the flow of the game, because it was really late in the week, Thursday really, before we got him any reps in practice. So we certainly didn't want to go too far down the road with him and get him out there for 30 plays or something. But just, I think it's good for a guy to get out there and remember what it feels like, especially against a defense like Utah that no matter what the play is, there's going to be an element of physical play out there. So it was good. He got his feet wet again, and I think he got him some confidence, and we'll build on that this week.
Is it fair to say that could increase this weekend?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he, felt great after the game. He's good now, and I know physically we're really going to push him just so he can feel, what a workload feels like again and things like that.
You
We
talk
saw
about
Michael score the touchdown with his wheels.
Yep.
Are there more yards to be had for him of that, or do you not want him to. I mean, sometimes it seems like there's.
Yeah, no, Mike is certainly capable of that, and I think there's always a responsibility level, of taking care of your quarterback that, I think Mike out on the perimeter can make plays and will continue to make plays. I think we do a good job of making sure that if Mike's carrying the football, it's going to count, and it's going to be something that's a play that we can make him hurt a little bit. So we try to be responsible with that and let his athleticism, shine a little bit in the pocket and let him move around back there.
When the game ended, you didn't have the services of Boston or Jackson didn't play at all. Will that change this week? Will they each have a chance to play?
Giles?
Giles and Boston?
Yeah, they both should potentially be back out there. So, Giles is dealing with a few injuries. He had an upper body injury and still coming back from that ankle. And so we're just trying to take care of him. And then obviously the game situation. So he's still at 3 games. So we got 2 games to play him one more and we'll have saved that year.
And Denzel.
And Denzel, I think, he was dealing with an upper body injury as well. And so we're just working him through that. He didn't practice yesterday, but we're expecting him to potentially make it back for the game.
Oregon State's got 12 picks. I think it's most in the conference.
Yeah.
What do you make of that Beaver defense?
Again, 2 weeks in a row playing a defensive, a program that's super comfortable in what they do schematically. They've been in this system, even though Coach Bray is only in his second year as a coordinator. He's been in the system at that school for a number of years. So I think the kids can, get in and out of calls quickly, which creates flexibility in the back end for them and can pose some problems. And they're aggressive. I think when the ball's in the air, their kids are really aggressive.
You gave Kalen the game ball in the locker room after for his 100th.
Yeah.
I think you were with him for 5 seasons before you came to Washington with him as head coach. Do you have a favorite victory that you guys were part of together before you got here?
Before we got here? Let's see. Man, there was a couple of them. I think the one when we beat Boise on the blue turf, that was a special win, just beating a really good program like that. And it had been a number of years since Fresno had done that. That was a big one. In 2009, we played a good 1AA team, North Dakota, up at their place and beat them en route to we ended up going 15-0 that year and winning the national championship. But we were definitely not the favored team in that game, and our guys executed really well, played a good game. So those were 2 that stood out.
What do you see from him when maybe he relishes a victory a little bit more than the average one, or does he stay pretty even keel that way?
Oh, he definitely stays even keel. I think over the years, you come to realize how hard every win is. And so I think there's a little bit there where you settle in, enjoy the win, and then, move on. But I think he's always done a good job of just being able to move on, realizing, and that's what good veteran coaches do is, there just isn't a lot of time to to celebrate because you're back in the office already on Sunday trying to figure out how to get a first down. So I think that part, there's always a realism to that he's kind of embodied.
Is there anything quirky about him? I feel like there's just all these compliments about Kalen that maybe you should balance it with some kind of funny, embarrassing stories. Right?
Oh my gosh, I got tons of embarrassing stories, but I also know I'm trying to make sure I got a job, so I gotta watch out. But no, he's a lover of dad jokes and puns, so that's definitely one of his deals.
And you mentioned Boise, and their job came open, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Not to ask you specifically about that job, but your name is going to be inevitably linked with a lot of openings around the country. How do you kind of handle that and go about that process?
I don't, and I don't mean that sincerely. I just don't. I have people that take care of that, and honestly, I'm lucky that way that I don't have to worry about it. I don't even think about it. I'm blessed that all I got to worry about is scoring points and getting touchdowns for Washington, and that's exactly what I'm focused on.
When you say people, do you have an agent? Is that what you
I do, and I used to make fun of that, but honestly, I don't think about that stuff or worry about anything like that in season, and I love where I'm at, so I couldn't be more happy to be here.
You talked a little bit about Jack Westover and his 4th down catch and just
Yeah.
how you've been able to use him this year and having an old guy like that on the team.
Him and Devin both have made so many, big plays, and just guys that are they're incredibly valued on this team, and I think everybody here in Washington understands how important those guys are. But I think from the outside looking in, those are the guys that get kind of lost in the mix, a little bit. And I would tease Jack and Dev a little bit. We joked with them that we were going to get a big NIL deal for them, that they were going to get some free socks and, all kinds of cool stuff like that to stay here. And, that was why they came back, was because of that. And it's not. But just seeing the kind of success those two kids have had and the impact that they've made in this program it's special, because there's nobody I want to give a bigger hug to than those two guys every week. And Jack has made incredible catch after incredible catch, and Dev obviously, a couple circuits catches for touchdowns as well.
Brian, I'm curious, we had a really emotional home game against Oregon where the fan base really rallied around it and called it one of the biggest home games ever, and I think their fan base is kind of feeling that way about this game. Can you talk about the atmosphere you're going to step into, and just trying to operate well and
Yeah.
really hostile environment?
Yeah, have reached out. I've never played there, so obviously Coach Huff has been there a couple times, and they've renovated since then, and as supposedly a little bit even louder. They'll certainly have a good crowd there. Reach out to a couple friends of mine within the conference that have played there already this year, and certainly the crowd noise and how excited they're going to be is going to be a factor. And so the execution part on offense will be critical, and we'll make sure we practice all those events and be ready for that. But that'll be a huge part, especially early in the football game, guys getting comfortable in those type of circumstances and still being able to execute.
Get ready for the chainsaw.
What's that? I've heard the third down chainsaw. I'm excited.
Not just third down, every.
All the time.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, good morning. Just kind of wrapping up Utah week. Just proud of the way the guys just continue to just come to work every day and come with the, I guess it's not a job, so I don't mean it that way, but they come ready to work every day and have, just the goals of improving every single opportunity they get, whether it's practice or games, and the resiliency that individuals have, that our offense, defense, special teams, our units have, thanks to just coaches that are doing a great job leading them. Just proud of the way that it comes together. We've found a way to finish games. Always areas where we can make it a little easier on ourselves, probably. But I think every moment is a learning moment and growth moment, and we continue to discuss those, talk about those, and I can see the corrections being made. And so I'm proud of the direction we go, and we put ourselves in a spot now where, every game does matter, but it really has a heightened level of importance, and we're excited about that. I think our guys really play well when the lights are bright, and it goes into the week of preparation, the energy, they bring it every single day, and so. Big week ahead against a really, really good football team that's playing really well and well coached. And so we know we have a great challenge going on the road again.
That was a physical football team you played. How'd you come through health-wise?
Yeah, I think not bad at all. Just the typical football, bumps and bruises and things like that. But we'll see kind of tomorrow once we hit the field. How guys are moving around, but it was a physical game, and I'm proud of the way our guys have, performed against those teams that have that, kind of identity, I guess, to them of being physical, because I think we've matched and exceeded, those teams, and showing that that's who we are as well, running the football. And the big thing that showed up, I think, was time of possession. Last weekend against a team that controls the game, day in and day out. Just they win the time of possession, and for us to have it almost 35 minutes Defense did a good job of getting off the field at times, and offense did a nice job of sustaining some drives, especially there in the fourth quarter. That last drive, really understanding what it took to win a football game and, executing. Obviously, we'd have liked to finish with some points, but made it harder on their offense that last drive with limited time and no timeouts.
Kalen, one touchdown allowed in the fourth quarter, last 4 games for you guys. Can you just continue to rely on that, or do you need down the stretch the defense to show up a little bit earlier?
Well, it's interesting because we do come out of the locker room most times too. First half, again this week we came out. Other than the SC game, I think we gave up some scores in the first few drives, but we've done a good job coming out of the locker room in the first quarter and even the third quarter. It doesn't mean every drive, and that goes offensively too. I think we've performed well. I track that. That's one of the things I tracked last year, tracked this year, that I challenged the guys to. We have and part of our goal is to start fast, and we emphasize the middle piece of the game, going into halftime and coming out with momentum. Most times we do a really good job in those areas. As you said, we have been really good in the fourth quarter. I think like you said, 1 touchdown in the last 4 games. And, I just continue to make adjustments. I think our guys learn and get better every single play. We emphasize that. The picture they see, they remember, and when they see it again, they execute better. I think a lot of it was just this last week we just needed to be better at getting some guys on the ground. Just a hitch route that goes for 45 plus. Those are little things that really 3 plays or 4 plays that kind of made the game what it was there in the first half. But our guys are resilient, and they got back in the locker room, regrouped, some nice adjustments by our staff, understanding that maybe even Utah felt like they had to attack us a little bit more through the pass game than the run game, and continuing to just grow and trust that the offense was going to do their job as long as they did theirs defensively, and you got what you got there. So proud of how we just continue to play and continue to evolve and adjust even throughout the course of the game.
With the blocked field goal, what did you see that kind of messed up the operation or whatever?
Yeah, I think the operation itself just wasn't clean. The snap could be a little bit better, and I think Grady probably got a little deep into the kick a little bit, and so everything was off. I'm sure. They've done such a good job all year long, so obviously we're all surprised. I don't really change my confidence. They'll get back out there tomorrow and all week long and keep doing their thing. I was just all week so impressed again with just the timing and all of that, but it obviously fell apart on that particular play and doesn't take away from my confidence in them. But big points, but there were some big points that they had earlier in the game that helped us. Those 2 field goals, those were about as hard of kicks as you can possibly have here at Husky Stadium.
On that controversial call at the end of the half on the formation, had you been in that formation previously in the game, and were you in it after that?
Let's see. I don't know if we were in the exact one. I know we moved around to it quickly, and so someone got lost in the mix there when they're counting the numbers of who's on, who's off, who's covered, who's uncovered. It really shouldn't. It's not a trick play or anything. It's not a formation that's hard to identify. So, yeah.
Did you use it after that call?
We line up in so many formations, then motion out of them. I don't know if we finished a play out of that same formation. So that same formation may have been called, but never executed a play. So I could say yes or no and probably be right.
Will you hesitate to use it again?
No, not at all. It's just empty. We line up in it a lot. And guys are in different spots, right? 2 tight ends or 5 wide, or we're in empty a lot of times.
Obviously, the game's over, you won, but a play like that happens. Do you bring that up to the conference at all, or what was the process? If you think that, this was probably wrong, do you do anything? Or
yeah, every week you discuss the things that we turn stuff in, and it's good dialogue. It's good dialogue that you have, and everyone's trying to make it right. No one's trying to and we're trying to make sure if there's rules that, we're pushing or things that we need to be better at, that we're doing the same. I guess I would appreciate that they actually were communicating with me and trying to, work through it with me, and that's what I appreciate when it comes to officials is that they're trying to make it right and trying to understand and willing to talk it through too, and help me on my end if there's something that I can do better.
Are you confident you were right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am. So, yeah.
What was the talking point to you of what was the miscue that they?
Well, I think you just look at the penalty, right? And it was illegal men downfield, so someone had to be perceived as being covered up, and our running back was off, our tight end was off, and then the tight end was on, so someone somewhere in there got got mixed up somehow. So,
Kalen, I asked Coach Inge about the late hit on Boy on that third down play. Just looking back at the video, what would you have him do differently?
yeah, I mean that's one, just interpretation and what can we do better, or just getting some feedback on that. That will be an example of one that would turn. It doesn't mean that we did it right or wrong, or it just the call's made and happens fast. I think that's the thing that's really. There's a job to protect those quarterbacks. I want our quarterback protected too. And not everyone, we're all human, right? So not all the calls get made correctly, but that's a bang bang play for sure.
You signed a contract extension during the season last year. There's a lot of speculation about maybe something similar happening this year. There are jobs coming open that your name's going to be connected to. How do you manage all of that while you got a 10-0 team here, you're coaching a team, trying to get to the playoff, all those sort of things?
Yeah, my focus is 100% on us playing ball right now. I heard the same question asked to Ryan Grubb, just now about opportunities, and I think that's what I really appreciate about our staff, and it starts with me, just being completely focused. And when it comes to a contract piece, things like that, I'll just make sure it's known that, Troy's done a great job of trying to, and doing it, approaching me and working together to try to make sure the continuity exists here at UW. And that doesn't just happen overnight, but, those efforts are certainly being made, and I'm appreciative of that.
Coach, last year Oregon State secondary was really physical. I thought it was probably the best secondary you faced. I thought Utah was really impressive with their physicality, and then now you're going back down to Oregon State. Back-to-back weeks with your guys, what's the teaching points for obviously trying to get the passing game going against some secondary that plays like that?
Our offense versus their, in the passing game.
What's the keys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just finding that rhythm. I mean, I feel like the last 2 weeks we've gotten back on track, really just consistently, and the completion percentage wasn't as high, but I think, again, a lot of balls down the field, maybe the wind playing a little bit as a factor, but just a lot of explosive plays that we continue to make and doing what we do, and we continue to do a pretty good job of protecting Mike. And Michael has that chance to see, and the cool thing that I really liked is when they brought pressure this week, we made him pay. And that's what we didn't do a few weeks ago when we played Arizona State in particular. Michael got to the options that he had, and that continues to grow and continues to be built into what we're doing. Those explosives. It doesn't always have to be a pass either. It can still be a run. That gives us, the counter to the attacking mindset that a defense may have. So, we just continue to do what we do. I think by this time of the season, you have an identity, and just kind of mixing and showing the different looks, but running what we do, and a couple tweaks here and there.
Kalen, Kim asked about Eddie's speech at halftime, I guess. He told me, I talked about the game, he said, if we do our job, we will not allow a point. And that's what happened. Did you happen to hear his speech, what he said at halftime?
I was walking. He got them together really quick, and so with my obligations on the field, just some media things, and walking down the hall, I know he was obviously very intentional on bringing the group together. So I caught the very end of it. I just can just say I can't, the details of what, like even what you're saying, I don't know necessarily, but I do know that I can tell by the calm and just the maturity in the conversation that was going on that, man, I felt very good that the right things were happening and that the right leaders were stepping up. And, you know, it's what we talk about all year long is being able to own it, accept it, flush it, move on. And that's exactly what those guys did. And hats off to Eddie, but hats off to everyone being willing to just, hey, whatever play you did or didn't make or whatever you're frustrated with, being able to put that aside, get together, regroup, and go out there and understand that, you know, there's a lot of game left to be played, and those guys did a nice job in the second half.
Kalen, you guys have a lot at stake, you know, with this football game, but Oregon State is in a real weird position because they don't know their future, and they may not play the Huskies ever again. You know, unlike Washington State is a possibility to keep the Apple Cup going, and Oregon is going to be a fellow conference member. This is really a strange football game, and you know, your desire is laid out there, but the Beavers have so much reason, you know, to keep going. They're 10th ranked. Will you bring that up with your guys, that these guys have a lot at stake on the other side, so it might be a test of will in some way between the two teams?
I think just to really simplify it down, because again, we're focused on us and what we're playing for, but to help understand, much like what we discussed this last week very briefly about Utah, their hopes and dreams were alive to still, you know, compete in a conference championship, and just making it about that. You know, Oregon State still have an opportunity, you know, if they won out to get in, the way I see it anyway. And so, you know, knowing that, you know, they're going to bring everything they got. They're going to be at home. They're playing well. They got good momentum. And so just really making it that simple, not about the other stuff, but about, you know, realizing that we're going to get their best shot just like we have with everyone else.
I know everybody involved in the program has had the 1-0 mentality all year. Has championship run become more of the conversation with only 2 games left?
I think more than anything, we focus on what champions look like, what champions do, and that's not something that just comes up now, but that's something, you know, you watch documentaries and you watch, you know, you talk about the great coaches and great performances, the great teams over time in all sports, and you know, those are the things we do in the off season during fall camp. We look at those traits that those teams have, and then, you know, we discuss what those are for us, and keep being reminded that even some of the things we're going through after each game. I mean, I talked about it after the game in the locker room, just, you know, the things that championship teams do. And right now, you know, I think we continue to be more physical. I think we continue to show that fight that it takes, the resiliency. You know, we continue to execute in the big moments. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing, and a lot of it has to go with preparation, you know, throughout the course of the week. So we are completely just focused on Oregon State. We understand how that next game sets us up for the opportunity you're talking about. And that's certainly a goal of ours in the program that we had from day one, is to be involved and be in a championship. But it's more about being a championship level team and to continue to have those traits that exist within those teams.
And I know I asked you this before, but as the season goes on, and we're a couple weeks past this time, is this team starting to show more traits similar to the championship team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, just you feel like that every year, you know, the development and growth and the different learning moments. And I just feel like we soak them up. We take them in. The guys listen. It's important to them, whether it's the coaches that are coaching them or them in the moments we just talked about, like with Eddie in the locker room, where, you know, they realize what's at stake and what it means, and the great opportunity that they've put themselves in by doing what we've discussed, you know, being 1-0 each and every week. You know, sooner or later, you know, we've been 1-0 10 times. And, you know, sooner or later you get to 11, you know, you get to 12 as long as you take care of the week before. So, again, that's just really trying to make it simple. Go back to work and you know, cut it loose and have some fun playing football, the game they love.
You find yourself, is there any room at all, and maybe Saturday night was the night to do it, 10-0 for the first time in 32 years? Is there any kind of opportunity there to just kind of relish in that for a moment?
I mean, I did say something to the team. Again, all the things I'm telling you are pretty much what I tell the team. And then I did want to make sure that they understood, man, this is a special time you're going through. And for 1 minute, much like last year, we got to the point where we could see we could win 10 games. We could see that we could win in 11 games, and where that fits in this history, in the history of this great program, and our place in it. And so, I think our guys are now to the point where each win just means that the next one we got to get ready for on another level. And I think it goes back to maybe back when we won the Oregon game, and just now every one of them just puts us that much closer to doing something really special. So we did talk about it real briefly for less than a minute, and just showed them how much they're going to remember this 10, 20, 30 years down the road as they talk about it with the other alumni that are here at that time, and they come back to see, Husky football doing its thing still, years down the road.
You ever think playing high school football that you'd be a 100-win coach in college football?
No. Didn't even know I was going to be a college football head coach. So just one day at a time, enjoying the journey I've been on. So been very lucky to be around so many great players, great coaches, just one day at a time, and appreciative of everything that's come my way.
You were asked about this when you got the job, and of course I was referenced today in terms of coaching vacancies and all that stuff, but, having been here, having had the success you've had here, do you see yourself at Washington for the long haul?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great place. I mean, I've said it. Listen, I mean, my family, I keep bringing it up, but my family loves it here. There's a lot of other reasons too. My daughter, I guess she does or doesn't love me talking about it, but there's just a lot of things that I love about this place. This is a championship football program. Said it from day one. It's got the bones of championships, and love the way we've been accepted into this place. It's a great place to coach, and I know, like I said earlier, Troy's trying to do everything he can to help myself and the staff continue this journey that we're on.
How cool is it to not have to pay for your daughter's college education because she'll be on scholarship, and then also have her up here a lot more often and being able to see her?
Yeah, it's really cool to just know that the work that she's put in is paid off, and I'm proud of her. Those are the things. I mean, the things I preach to the guys are, I hate to say it, probably a little bit too much coach speak to her. Try to balance that between dad and coach. Try to be more on the dad side to her, but it's certainly something I'm very proud of.
Can you give us a scouting report?
No, I mean, she's just a good all-around player. I'm really proud of her.
Well, Ryan said you like dad jokes, so you got one. Dad joke for us.
Yeah,
In your back pocket.
they're bad. They're bad. My guys boo me every time I try to come and stand in front of them and crack something funny, and it's all good. Yeah.
Just to follow up on Mike's question, you mentioned that Troy's looking to keep the band together. Have you started kind of negotiations on a new deal, or your agent with him?
Yeah. I mean, those things. Troy's been very good with, very intentional with that, and so I mean, I'm very appreciative of that. And it is hard. I mean, the question was asked earlier. You're in the middle of a great season like we have, and I'm trying to keep the focus on that. But you also understand that those things need to continue to happen for our program to continue to move forward.
When you took over a 4-8 football program, and if we had told you you'd be 21-2 right now, would you have said that's possible, or I'm really surprised by that? That's aiming pretty high.
Yeah, I would have said we probably nailed it, but yeah, I mean, I think I shared, from all the coaches that I've been with in different places throughout the years, that I've learned that anything's possible, and don't set your sights, and it doesn't mean that we're flashing it out there and we're going to be this and that, and it happens, because it's hard. It's really hard. It's a lot of work, and it's got a lot of buy-in. It's got to have a lot of buy-in. You got to have some breaks go your way, I guess, when I've had times in the years past where we've been a part of coming into 1-11 programs, and you can turn around and go 10-4 and 12-2 the next 2 years, you see that, man, you get the ball rolling, you get the momentum. It's amazing the buy-in and how quickly you can make it happen, and that's really what's happened here over the last 2 years.
How does Ungalele compare to other QBs you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him a lot of crossover film, and so just getting into that and watching the other side of the ball too. But got a lot of experience under his belt for sure. Veteran quarterback, and I think he's adjusted well to the offensive system and continues to grow in it and get better each and every week. You can see that happening, and then ability to still use his feet when he needs to, but got the arm that you're looking for, and like I said, I think they continue to work the offense around him and him adjusting to the offense, and so they're hitting their stride right now at the right time. We got a tough opponent that we're going to be playing this weekend.
Do you have any history with Coach Smith at all?
I just nothing but the utmost respect. I mean, in conversations when we're at meetings together and things like that, and understanding what he did here. He was a great coordinator, but that's also translated for him to being a great head coach. And I know he's passionate about that program and brought a lot to it. And so, he and his staff are doing a really good job. It's not just a one-year thing. They've built this and grown it, and they're looking at a special season this year too.
You heard his quote last year when you guys were both named co-coach of the year, and he said he would have won that award if he hadn't voted for you.
That probably I don't know though, because I could go the other way too, right? So, yep.
Scott Huff knows Jonathan Smith as well as anybody. How much help is he this week?
Yeah, I think all those little things are pieces. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge back and forth and familiarity. So, that all gets discussed and talked about, and sure on both sides, us and them.
Anything else for Coach DeBoer?
Thanks, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you.